Hello, 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 everybody. This is Renault, and I want you to know that today I'm going to go over all 100 of Bleeding Cool's top 100 power list of comics in 2019 in full by Rich Johnston. And yes, I will be going over all 100 entries. Oh, by the way, you may see that I am on an archive. Never visit Bleeding Cool without using the archive, because Bleeding Cool's website is effing garbage. Uh, Even the archive has major problems. Look at this. Look at this big black box right here. But I wasn't going to make this list. I was just going to peruse it. But then I noticed that this list is incomprehensible and makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I don't mean, and what I mean is both technically from, wait, why does this person go down in power? Why did this person go up in power? But I also mean in the writing of itself. The writing is absolute trash. And I think the reason why this list is so awful is because Rich Johnston just forgot to make it. This is the kind of thing where it's like you run it through and you run it through spell check, and then like it doesn't matter if it's in like your Microsoft Word or whatever, and it doesn't matter if the words don't make sense because spell check will pretty much just make sure the words are spelled correctly. Syntax, grammar, incomplete sentences, run-on sentences, incoherent thoughts. A basic a basic spell check won't catch all that, and there's a lot of that in this article. And I was like, not even like halfway through, and I was like, this deserves a video because Rich Johnston is phoning this in. It was hilarious, but I do have to give credit where credit is due. I don't know if Rich Johnston is on drugs. And I don't mean illegal drugs. I mean like Sudafed or morphine or something that puts your brain in a haze. But the writing is bad. But this Bleeding Cool Top Power 100, where everything is just one list, I like that better. I have to admit, I like that better. What I would have liked even more is if number one listed at the bottom, because here in America we read from top to bottom. I don't know how you do it in England, but to help build up suspense, we go from top to bottom. If you want to have some suspense, you put number 1 at the bottom and number 100 at the top. So for those who are really observant, you've probably already seen who number 1 is while I was going up the list. And then when I gave a little peek earlier, like about 30 seconds ago, you might have seen it, but that's okay. You might even recognize who this is, and nothing I can do about that. But I'm going to scroll right past and go to number 100 so we can go through this together. And by the way, before I get into this, hit that like button and subscribe. I want you to know I'm doing this for you, for your entertainment, because this is going to be awful. Hold on. I can't turn on my camera, but I might just get started on a glass of wine. You know what? Let me turn on my OC Remix and grab some wine. I'll be right back. Here's some OC Remix as I get... I'm going to start getting drunk because this is going to be painful and I'm going to need some alcohol. Where's the liquor? Come on, where is the liquor? Is the art? Okay, I am back. Sorry about that delay. I had to get some wine. This is Gerard Bertrand, Côte de Roses. 2008, 2018, a very fine year. Hold on. Okay. And again, never read a Blinia cool article without the archives. That can be dangerous to the health of your computer. Oh god. This theme is beautiful. This is remix number 2215. It's Mega Man 2. It's called Mechanical Flare, and it's done by Will Rock. Okay. So as you can see, number 100, most powerful person in comics, is David Pepose. Pepose? We'll say Pepose. Aside from writing the gripping Spencer and Hobbs and the high concept going to the chapel for Action Lab, Pepose stands as a gatekeeper, running reviews for Newsrama. He's made a lot of the right friends and none of the wrong enemies, which is an advantageous position for a writer to have. That's my dog. I don't know if you can hear it, but right away. I don't know if Bleeding Cool just doesn't have the functionality, but when going over things like this to differentiate, what you want to do is either put this in quotation marks or italics, so that we can differentiate the titles from every other thing that gets capitalized. For example, is it high concept Going to the Chapel for Action Lab? Is that the name of the title? No. It's Going to the Chapel. Oh, Rich Johnston. We're just getting started. And we're already doing this. Anyway, by the way, good job acknowledging that there's gatekeeping in comics. Like, he just puts that right out there. There's gatekeeping in comics. Like, they've never said that there's no gatekeeping in comics, but keep in mind the difference between gatekeeping in comics and blacklisting. When Rich Johnson says gatekeeper, what he really means is blacklister. Now, I don't know the extent of his blacklisting, but he's somebody who will definitely, if he gets a blacklist, he'll definitely share it among his friends. I'm not stating that as a fact. That's an opinion based on Rich Johnston. Rich Johnston likes to use misleading information and misleading language. Let me take a sip of this wine. You know what? For those following along, for every error that Rich Johnston has here, or thing that doesn't make sense, take a shot. I'm kind of following along, but only kind of. But I do need to take a sip of wine right away. Just a second. Oh, god damn, this is awful. But you know what? It's only fair that I play along. In fact, since I started this, let me take another swig. Oh, damn it. That's Gerard Bertrand, Côte des Roses. 2018. A very good year. So, anyway. Damn it, that's terrible. But, so congratulations on making the list. He is a new entry. And another new entry is Sebastian A. Jones. Let's read together, shall we? By the way, I'm not going to go ahead and introduce the remixes. I really want to just focus on the article. Because stopping to introduce the article is just going to take, well, you know what? It's already going to take a while, so what the hey. This is a remix called number 1124. This is from Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This is Pirates of Dragon Roost Isle. God. And so that's the name of this remix. If you like it, check out OC Remix. Number 99. Working from a gauntlet of shows, selling hardcovers hand to hand, to this year signing a deal with HBO to be their next big fantasy franchise. Jones has found success doing things his way. A fan favorite at shows for years, he's adept at drawing back repeat customers and building a fantasy world and fan base out of nothing. Or a passing acquaintance with someone in the Hunger Games. What? He's adept. Okay, so let's look at it this way. He's adept. Hey, Lamau! Hey, Lamau, take a shot! I'm going to drink this wine until I think Rich Johnson is a good writer. I may be dead by the end of it. Anyway, drawing, but he's adept at passing acquaintance with someone in the Hunger Games? What? The fuck? I'm going to drink until Rich Johnston makes sense. His Stranger Comics books now have a Pathfinder game module where you can go to the world Asunda, and his characters will be alongside Sister Knight and Barry. Sister Knight and Barry in your app soon enough. Which app? Pathfinder app? The Pathfinder game app, I suppose? Who knows? Rich Johnson is a talented writer and definitely did not use illegal drugs while he was writing this. He may have been on legal ones. I do not hesitate to opine about that, but I just want to emphasize. I am stating he was not on illegal white substances that can be snorted up the nose when he wrote this article. Now, the next entry is White Noise Studios. This London-based collective of writers, Dan Waters, Ram B, Alex Packnadell, and Ryan O'Sullivan have created their own books at Vault and Image and are burning their way across the mainstream books as well. Dan Waters on semicolon or colon, semicolon, or whatever. Pick your poison. My poison is going to be another sip of wine. Oh yeah. Okay, I must be feeling it because I don't think the wine is disgusting, so here we go. Anyway, colon or semicolon, Dan Waters on Lucifer, Ram B on Justice League Dark and Catwoman, and each making room for the others. There is power in a union. Now, by the way, I'm not an editor, so there's probably mistakes in here that I'm not going to recognize, but I am going to take my, associate's degree level of education and say that there needs to be either a colon or semicolon here. Next, Stu Colson. By the way, since this is a collection of people, it makes sense that we're getting our first placement, illogical placement, White News Studios. Since it is a group of people, should be higher up because it's a group of people. It's about power and influence in comics. This should be higher entry just because it's a group of people who are on not just their own creator-owned work, but who are writing on mainstream comics and are, quote, each making room for the others, which I'm assuming means they're also bringing their other friends in to be co-writers and associate writers. I don't know, but either way, this is a bad entry, just on the face of it. Moving on to Stu Colson, owner-manager of Comic Data Beast Comic Hub, that tripled in size this year, did deals with New York Times bestseller list, NPD Bookscan, and ICV2, and and ICV2, and multiple publishers. He has only access to sell-through data for publishers and marketing directly to comic book fans. What? Oh, excuse me, that's my mistake. Although I'm drunk, which is probably what Rich Johnston was when he wrote this. But although this is my mistake, he has the only access to sell-through data for publisher and marketing directly to comic books fans. So if he's the only one who has access to this very important data, he should be higher on the list. That's just the facts of it. He has powerful marketing and data and analysis. He should be higher on the list on the principle of it. Alright, next up, Warren Simons, former executive-in-chief of Valiant, now filling that role at Dinesh Shamdasani and Hunter Gorson's Bad Idea Comics, spinning out of Hive Mind. That could have been reworded more eloquently. Warren is the man who will hold the keys, and from all appearances, is going to be a hot ticket? What? Warren is going to be the man who will hold the keys. And it's going to be a hot ticket? What? Let's just take a shot. Just take a shot. Okay. Alright. Took a shot of wine. That sentence was jacked up. Warren... So, is he indirectly saying that Warren is also a gatekeeper / blacklister? Warren is the man who will hold the keys. And it's going to be a hot ticket. What? Maybe this is British English, which is different from the correct American English. That is the excuse I will use. Oh my god, we're 20 minutes in, although some of that is going to be edited out. Oh boy. Next up, Sebastian Gorner, editor-in-chief of TKO Studios, a new comic book publisher with an innovative approach to formats and pricing. God, the run-on sentences, god damn it to hell. And who with owner Zhe Chu are undercutting the majors and lining up creators they would envy too. What? Oh my god! Is this entire paragraph one goddamn run-on sentence? It is! This entire paragraph is a run-on sentence. So let's start over. Hold on, let's take a shot. Okay, so let's start again. Editor-in-chief of TKO Studios, a new comic book publisher with an innovative approach to formats and pricing, and who, with the owner of Zhe Chu, are undercutting the majors, comma, and lining up. This could be a. Let's see how many sentences are in this. Editor-in-chief of TKO Studios, a new comic book publisher with an innovative approach to formats and pricing. So this can be just rewritten into a sentence. Gorner is the editor-in-chief of TKO Studios, which is a new comic book publisher with an innovative approach to formats and pricing. Period. New sentence created. With the owner Zhe Chu, they are undercutting the majors while lining up creators who would be... They are lining up new creators who would be an envy to work with, period. That's sentence number 2. These creators include Garth Ennis, Steve Epting, Jeff Lemire, Joshua Dysart, Alberto Ponticelli, Roxane Gay, Ming Doyle, and Gabriel Hernandez-Walta. So it looks like 4 or 5 sentences in this one run-on sentences. Oh god. Let me just take another shot to recover. Happy New Year. Oh, I forgot to introduce that last theme. Well, it's gone now. This is OC Remix number 1779. It's by a remixer named One Up. That's all one word. One Up. And this is a remix of Dig This. Let's go. Called it. Now this is number 94, Hanamin Shannon, who's also a new entry. Wait a minute. Sebastian Gorner has this up. That means that he was lower on the list, and now he's moved up in the list. Okay. Moving on, Hanamin Shannon, former executive-in-chief of Bleeding Cool. Hannah performed a very rare trick. Only halfway managed recently by Tom King, so that's a stupid phrase to use in a work of literature. Good job, Rich Johnston. She fired 2 of her bosses, quitting Heavy Metal magazine, alleging claims of bullying against creators by those in charge. She found herself invited back and promoted to senior editor, with said bosses shut off Heavy Metal as a result of her complaints. She is currently recruiting creatives widely, with a reputation for lying down in front of oncoming trains to protect them. Okay, good job. Does a good explanation of why she's considered powerful. Although, if this trick is so rare that she performed, then she needs to be higher on the list, or it's insinuating that Heavy Metal magazine is not that big of a deal. By the way, why is she the former editor-in-chief at Bleeding Cool? What happened there? I guess she'll just resign? Not that matters. Anyway, Rebecca Taylor, another new entry. Former Justice League editor at DC Comics, with an amazing contact list, she has set up Myriad. Depending on how you've grown up, this can be pronounced Myriad, like me, or Myraid. I've seen it pronounced Myraid, even though I think Myraid is wrong. Anyway, the new YA imprint at Vault Comics, and publisher already on high and about to make a bigger splash when Mags Visaggio's Vagrant Queen splashes on Sci-Fi. Can she take lessons learned at DC and apply them somewhere less restrictive? I guess. That's an okay. Wait a minute, how is Axel Alonso moving up? Anyway, let's just take a shot because this doesn't make any sense. He used to rule the roost. Well, top 10 at least. But his sudden departure from Marvel Comics at Executive-in-Chief saw him drop off the chart. Yet he's moved up. This year, however, he is Editor-in-Chief of Writers, Artists, and Artisans, with Bill Jamaz and Rupert Murdoch's millions behind him. He has been able to use his Marvel and DC vertical content to line up a truly impressive list of creators lists for the 2020 launch, which I personally haven't seen. Is Axel Alonso's? No, I'm thinking Joe Quesada. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking Joe Quesada. So I guess this makes sense. Oh well, I took a shot anyway. Jen Haynes, a new entry. Owner of The Dragon, a 3-store chain of comic stores. Vice President of the Comics Pro retailer advocacy group. Her social power is massive. She knows so many connected people personally, and is key in weaving a web of contacts to get things done. Does that include installing a new distributor to compete against Diamond Distribution? No. I mean, it seems like she's less some powerful Comics Pro retailer advocacy group, and more of a person who stamps down and makes sure everybody shuts up and takes it. I mean, that's just the impression I get. I mean, she must have been asleep at the wheel as comic shops get rained over and over and over again. Moving on to Brittany Holder. Oh, Brittany Holder and Diego Lopez. 2 junior DC editorial figures, both recently promoted. Both young, respected, smart, and being considered the next generation of leaders at DC. Wise creators are already making sure they are on these editors' radar. So, I just have to ask, that doesn't necessarily explain why these 2 junior editors, though recently promoted, are on this list. Like, where did they get promoted from? They're junior editors. I'm assuming that means associate editor. I'd look it up, but fuck it. It's Rich Johnston's job to be clear and concise, and I shouldn't have to look stuff up. And so I'm not going to. So I'm assuming that junior DC editorial means associate editor. And if it means associate editor, then that means they're the lowest end of the totem pole. So why are they on the list at all? Is every associate editor going to be on the list? Who knows? Next up, Amanda. Oh, and by the way, since these are two people, by the very nature, that makes them slightly more powerful, but they are junior editors, so maybe their combined powers is why they're on the list at all, assuming there are no other junior associate editors on this list. Up next, Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti. Amanda's influence is clear on the Harlequin animated series, the Bird of Prey film, and regular coverage for DC, Marvel, and Dynamite, while working with her husband Jimmy Palmiotti. Oh god, another run-on sentence, take a shot. I am halfway through with this bottle of wine. We're having a good time. So, while working with her husband Jimmy Palmiotti on Harley, Birds of Prey, and Wonder Woman at Walmart, but non-exclusivity. What? Let's just take another shot. Their work on paper films and Kickstarters. Did I say Kickstarter? Actually, I think that's appropriate. Kickstarter shows them to be a powerful and independent creative voice. Well, not too powerful since they're only at 89, Rich Johnston. And by the way, if Amanda is this influential, along with Jimmy Palmiotti, this is also where you're comboing people, they should be higher. Moving on to 88. War Campaign. I saw this on Twitter, and I laughed, and again, the only reason why I'm even looking at this is because of Rich Johnston's awful writing. But War Campaign made the list. Comicsgate still remains a cause celeb online. A still impressive exercise in virtue signaling to fund comic books outside the comics industry. But this virtue was put to test as cracks grew, prominent figures turned against each other. God, another run-on sentence. You know, nobody likes run-on sentences, Johnston. I mean, at a certain point, it's like you read this and then it's like, I mean, is this... I'd say this is first pass writing or a stream of consciousness writing, but even in stream of consciousness, you stop and put in periods. Let's just finish this sentence, this paragraph-long sentence. Hashtag an ironic hashtag, blame war campaign. Wait a minute. So you put the blame war campaign in the hashtag, but not the war campaign. Now, I'm not even going to go into it, but the TLDR is that war campaign is actually a group of people, so war campaign should not be capitalized. It should be in hashtag as well, with the blame war campaign. And it's a group of people. It's not a single individual. There's not a single war campaign account. I mean, there's a war campaign official, but that's not actually the most active war campaign account. Anyway, and so... What? Now, I was trained not to have your sentences start with an and or a but. Except, well, no, not a but. You can start your sentences with a but never with an and. I'm just going to assume that this is British English. Saw abuse previously directed at mainstream viewers, many of whom have restricted their social media as a result, turned inwards. Let's just put a rose on this paragraph. It's dead. Move on. Christina Rogers, another new entry. Event director at ReedPop. The shape of New York Comic Con is hers entirely now, as is C2E2 and Florida SuperCon, a true dynamo in the comic book convention field. and the best person to schmooze to get that big newsworthy slot on the Saturday of the show. Another person who, with number 87 ranking, should be based on this power listing of these three cons, C2E2 and New York Comic Con, should be higher on the list, as is. Now, I don't know how big of a deal Florida SuperCon is, but with just these two alone, New York Comic Con and C2E2, she should be higher up. Which makes me wonder who the hell fell off. Anyway, Gal Buzlov has moved up. Wait a minute. Is Gal Buzlov... Why does Gal Buzlov have a period? Why does Gal Buzlov have a period? Anyway, the public face of Midtown Comics, the comic book chain in New York that also runs Marvel and DC subscription departments. Really? I did not know that. Comic book publishers still make media announcements here. The big signings happen here. It shows the way with the gray market, such as sending folk out to buy all the Walmart DC comics it can find. And for much of the media, Midtown is the model for comic book stores. Its Times Square location is probably the most seen comic store in America, and Gal is the face smiling out of it. God damn it, Rich Johnson. Fuck your run-on sentences. Fuck them all to hell. And fuck you too. You're an asshole in your own right. Also, fuck this period behind Gal Buzlov, something you've not afforded to literally anyone else. Next up, Eddie Ibrahim, Director of Programming at San Diego Comic Con. It may come but once a year, but Eddie holds the fortunes and plans of many comic book publishers and creators in his hands. His whim can see a publisher given the chance to expose the world to what they're working on, or denied the chance and remain in relative obscurity. Also, it may be down to him to see if the panel you have arranged will be full of your fans or people waiting to see Critical Role. Now, I just want to point out, is San Diego Comic Con a bigger and more important comic con than Midtown Comics? Than New York Comic Con, C2E2, and Florida SuperCon combined? I don't think so. Now, next up is somebody I personally dislike with a pretty strong passion, is Camilla Zhang, Kickstarter's Comics Outreach Lead, still the premium crowdsourcing portal for comic book projects. All manner of comic book projects go through her, and she can help, and emphasis here, if hinder, creative projects from finding their funding. She is the gatekeeper of the future. So I just want to everyone to recognize what Rich Johnson is saying here. If hinder, as the comic outreach lead, her job, she can give a push to some comics more than others. There's a Comics We Love feature where a comic will be featured on each Kickstarter front page regardless of its funding or popularity. But when they say if hinder, what that means is that Camilla Zhang will actually ensure that, or try to ensure, that your comic does not reach funding. Basically, Rich Johnson is admitting that Camilla Zhang will actively work against Kickstarter's best interests. Could you imagine, a director of logistics at Amazon actively working against the well-being of Amazon? Just think about what Rich Johnson is actually stating here. And by the way, what Rich Johnson is stating, but I think this is a situation where he's accidentally revealing the truth when he says, if hinder. Nothing Camilla Zhang does should hinder any project ever under any circumstance if it's on Kickstarter. Ever. So thanks for your slip up there, Johnston, letting everybody know that Camilla Zhang is a gatekeeper who literally shuts down projects and hinders projects from meeting their funding goal. This is why nobody should use Kickstarter, because Rich Johnson is admitting that Camilla Zhang will hinder a project. I repeat, Rich Johnston appears to be stating that Camilla Zhang hinders projects. You can quote me on that because it's an opinion and not a fact. Now, next up is Andrea Colvin, another new entry. Used to be the lead editor at Lion Forge, dropped them like a rock when the Oni merger happened. What Rich Johnston means is that she was fired because of staff redundancy. Now at Little Brown, with a massive contact list and goodwill to exploit in bringing comic book creators to bookstores. I just want you to know that Rich Johnson is suggesting that Andrea Colvin, being the lead editor, I don't know if lead editor and editor-in-chief are the exact same thing, but Rich Johnson is suggesting that being the lead editor at a company called Little Brown is more influential than the event director at Reed Pop, along with shaping New York Comic Con, C2E2, and Florida SuperCon. He is suggesting that being the lead editor is something more important than somebody who is strongly influencing who can be accepted at those three cons combined. Nice job, Rich Johnston. Let's move on. Oh yeah, when's the last time I had a drink? Just take a shot. And if you're following along, you take a shot too. Up next is Kat Salazar, the director of PR and marketing at Image Comics. The success of many titles this year has come from getting new properties in front of as many eyes as possible. And this is visible by the number of best of notes that Image has been getting at the end of the year. Now I want you to know that the comics industry awards are completely useless. They mean absolutely nothing. When you've got Squirrel Girl getting a nomination for Best Art, but Bernie Wrightson has never been nominated for a Eisner Award, I think that discredits the Eisner Awards permanently, as far as I am concerned. I mean, there's a lot of other things that discredited the Eisner Awards, but I don't think anything more permanently and profoundly discredits the Eisner Awards than Bernie Wrightson never even getting a nom. But Squirrel Girl did get a nom for art and story, I think. And also Mago Visaggio has gotten some noms, so yeah. Anyway, moving on. Oh yeah, that's right, I needed to stop in the middle of a sentence. A run-on sentence. So, Kat Salazar, moving on, she also sets the tone for whenever Image Comics has to apologize for whatever one of the creators on its books has gone and said now. Actually, I know what he's giving a backhanded insult to when Michelle Perez was wishing your boy Zach had died in Iraq or Afghanistan. And so, by the way, Image Comics never apologized for that. So, either Image Comics has to apologize because they take a vested interest in what their creators say, or they don't. I was actually starting to get finally convinced that Image Comics is just the publishing and distribution, and that they're not responsible. But Rich Johnston here is saying that Image Comics does have responsibility, and that they have to apologize for when their creators do something. By making this backhanded comment, Rich Johnston again lets slip something, possibly something about the industry, in that Image Comics is not actually this hands-off publisher distributor that I thought they were, that I was finally convinced of. She's suggesting that they actually have some responsibility for their creators. Now, if they're actually truly hands-off like I thought they are, with just publishing and distribution, then they have no reason to apologize for what image creators do. But again, that's Rich Johnson. Thanks a lot for making the establishment look bad. Anyway, moving on to Janine Schaefer. As an editor of DC and Marvel, she was a conduit for new talent into the publishers and left a legacy of work with creators that follow her into freelance editing on Jonesy and Motor Crush. I've heard of her, Motor Crush, because it has a gorilla. As executive editor at Boom Studios, where she is launching a new effort with some old friends and new names. She has been around the block. She knows where the bodies are buried, and she plays hockey on top of them. Now, I want you to know that, or keep in mind what Rich Johnson is saying here, or at least what I think he's suggesting here. He is suggesting that Janine Schaefer has a lot of dirt on a lot of people. I repeat, Rich Johnson is suggesting that Janine Schaefer has a lot of dirt on a lot of people. I'm just going to move on and let you think about that. Are you done thinking? Holy shit, Tamara Bonvillain? Here we go. She's a new entry. By the way, knowing what I know about Tamara Bonvillain, there is no way she's more powerful than some of the other people on this list. So let's take a shot. I think I'm starting to get drunk. And these articles are starting to get more tolerable. Before I get you drunk, let me just read off this next OC remix, because I like this one. This is Donkey Kong Country 2 remix. It's done by Oceans Andrew. It's called simply Sticker Brush. It is remix number 3965. If you're liking this remix, it is number 3965. Thank you. Let's go back. Gotta go back. Oh. So where was I? Tamara Bonvillain, that's right. Comics colorist extraordinaire and one of the most sought after in her field. A stack of awards, which are meaningless. She works on the biggest books in the industry. From... Let's just take a sentence fragment and throw a random from in there. You know what that means? Rich Johnson could not think of a single comic that she actually works on. Not a single one. He was going to provide a list from, Moon Girl to, I don't know, some other garbage. But Rich Johnson couldn't even manage that. And this writing is so sloppily done, he could not think of 2 comics she's working on. And to be fair, possibly because I'm drunk, I can't think of 2 comics she's working on either. But Rich Johnson is actually putting this in writing for an official organization. From just whatever. He was going to write something there and he just forgot. Because... God damn it! Rich Johnston, you are a peach. Thank you so much. This is quality entertainment. Oh my god. I love being drunk and going over this. I don't know if I'm actually drunk, because I've had more wine and felt less, happy, I guess. But you know what? Let's take another shot just for shits and giggles, because that is fucking awesome. So, she is also a sounding board and a front of advice for much of comics. Yeah, that other sentence fragment separated by the comma makes no fucking sense. But what matters here is that Rich Johnson was so high on legal drugs, or possibly so fucking drunk, or maybe he's just such a fucking bad writer, that he could not actually list 2 comics that Tamara Bonvillain is actually working on. Now, before I go into the next entry, I want to read off this next remix, because this remix is fucking awesome. This is Apex in Techno by a remixer named Anosu. This remix does not have a remix number. So again, it's Apex in Techno. Apex in Techno. Let's dance. God, I love this mix. This is the sort of thing I would just sit around in and just listen to on repeat. Anyway, number 79, Mr. Matt Smith. He's moved up in the world. Editor-in-chief of 2000 AD, the sci-fi weekly comic published in Britain, the man who finds a talent that the rest of the industry pinch. Let me read that again. The man who finds the talent that the rest of the industry pinch. Shouldn't that be pinches? I'm too drunk to know if that's correct or not. Especially with Brexit dulling down the pound and simultaneously making British comics suddenly far more affordable. And more expensive for 2000 AD. What the fuck? Fuck you, Rich Johnston. The launch of Best of 2000 AD may bring his role greater into the spotlight of 2020. Let's move on. Let's take a few moments. I think my head is spinning a little bit. But let's take a few moments to let my head spin and listen to this theme. Let me take another shot. I'm starting not to hate this wine, which means I'm going to officially declare myself drunk. Anyway, Arun Singh, Boom Studios PR guy, with CBR, Marvel, and Sci-Fi on his resume. He redefined the company's marketing efforts over the last 3 years. Big presences at book shows, and great rep with librarians. Increased press outreach, and generating stunts like the surprise Angel comic launch. Expanding into the book market with creator tours for all big launches has helped make the company one of the top creator-owned comics choices. Really? The only thing I know about Boom Studios is that they are printing the Power Rangers run, but and it's received high recommendation from Yellow Flash. But I'm so soured on the industry that I'm not willing to buy the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic, even though it has the classic cast. Billy, Trini, Jason, etc. And that's the thing that most people know about Power Rangers, but I'm not willing. Personally, I love Power Rangers SPD, by the way. Let me know when that comic comes out. Because, I enjoy a little bit of furry in my fiction. You've got Anubis Kruger. But that comic's not out, so I'm not buying the Power Rangers comic. Anyway, number 78. I think I'm gonna stop at number 75 just to break it up. But I've still got like 3 or 4 more to go. Up next is Joe Hill, co-creator of Lock and Key, finally getting to Netflix in early 2020 with a new comic series, Dying is Easy. It is his Hill House imprint for a publisher now dead, set against imprints, that has proved most effective in getting him into this chart. He gets to pick and choose, then go elsewhere if DC doesn't play ball. Now, is Joe Hill one of Brian Michael Bendis' friends? Because for some insane reason, Brian Michael Bendis has a huge amount of power, and he's brought in a bunch of his carpetbagging friends. Anyway, I don't really know how, if DC doesn't play ball and doesn't want his comic, how that makes him more influential, but congratulations on that Netflix deal. That's what most people are in comics for lately. Number 76, Gina Gagliano. She's moved up in the world. Director of Random House Graphic, a dedicated graphic novel imprint, releasing its first graphic novels in 2019, and reported to Judith House Random House Senior VP. What? Oh, and reported to Judith Hout, Random House Senior VP. Okay. Previously a longtime member of staff at First Second Books and a program of comic book festivals, Gina Gagliano has been writing and arranging major publishing deals for a number of major creators, which is maybe why you haven't heard what your favorite creator has been working on for a while now. She is specializing in titles for children and young adults, focusing on both commercial and literary graphic works. What the fuck is the difference? No, seriously. What is I'm assuming that commercial means like corporate owned, like say if you were to get a comic of My Little Pony out versus some literary graphic novel which is like creator owned. But because Rich Johnston is a terrible writer, I'm not quite sure what the hell the difference is. Alright. Matt Gagnon. He's moved up in the world. Editor-in-chief of Boom Studios. He's a major curator of a major line of titles in comics. As writer of The Daemon, Matt has expanded the publisher into all ages and young adult comic books that have led publishers like DC into similar territories? What? Matt has expanded the publisher into all ages and young adult comic books that have led DC into similar territories. But DC has always made available all ages and young adult books. Like, technically, Batman is supposed to be for all ages and young adult books, unless what Rich Johnston means here is that a comic that specializes in all ages and a comic that specializes in young adult books. Possibly? Although I can't think of any DC comics that actually do that. I'd like to think that DC by Azzarello, DC's comic series by Azzarello and their Black Label series. Oh yeah, here it is, Brian Azzarello. So I like to think that that's what he's talking about. So saw the addition of Kieran Gillen, Brian Azzarello, R.L. Jeremy Hahn, and Gabby Rivera to the likes of Grant Morrison, James Tynion IV, Matt Kint, and Grant Pak, leading to new sales heights and critical acclaim. Boy, Rich Johnston sure does love his run-on sentences. I'm going to stop here because I need to make pizza to absorb some of this alcohol. If you do not have food in you when you're drinking alcohol, you get more drunk. So let's stop here so I can make some pizza. And by the way, that previous remix was remix number 112. I repeat, that previous remix was remix number 112. It was by Jive Master. I love Jive Master. He's great. I'm going to stop here because I need to make pizza. We've been going for almost an hour. Holy crap. This is going to be good times. Anyway, let's stop here. Thank you so much. I'm going to start making some pizza and I'll be back.